Okay, so let's talk about the 4 goals of mistaken. Oh gosh, I think I already did. Attention, power, revenge, and giving up or assumed inadequacy. So these are the 4 drivers of behavior. Now you know, right? So when your kid misbehaves, run to your chart, which should be on your refrigerator, whip your finger to the end, it tells you how to handle it, or else go, are they emoting? Do they have a legitimate unmet need? Or do they not have the right information? Ask yourself so that you can respond. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Everybody, here's your homework. Ready? Number 1, if you have not created a safe place in your house, then do it. A safe place has in counseling what we call transitional objects. You know, a little kid, a binky, okay? A binky, a blankie, for older kids, music or books. No violent video games. I have a 0 tolerance for violence. You ever see? They measure kids' brains because now they have PET scans and we know so much more about the brain now than we ever knew before, but they measure kids' brains when they're like this. You ever see it? It's like scary. Or how about this? Here's a kid watching TV. Okay, that's not what I want either. Okay? I want connections with real people, not with things, and I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive to violence, and I'd like to stay that way. I would like children to be sensitive to violence, and I'd like them to stay that way too. And when children are exposed to violence all the time, it desensitizes them. Don't do that. It also creates real bad brain chemistry. Not good. Okay, so I want you to create a safe place in your house, role play it. What can you do when you feel mad? Go to your safe place, right? The 4 composure techniques should be in there. What else? Provide an opportunity, again, to remove themselves and become calm. So set it up. In the visuals, there are the 4, do you all have the 4 composure techniques that I gave you? Right? Yeah? Yeah, they look like this. Thank you. Oh, they're on the SharePoint site. If you don't have them, the balloon, the star, the pretzel, this is brain-based stuff, and progressive relaxation with drain. Everybody got that? Okay, if not, you'll have to take my class. All right. Age-appropriate calming items. So number 1, I want you to create safety. Number 2, I want you to respect your feelings, the kids' feelings. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I never, ever, ever try to change a child's behavior without addressing their feelings first, because it's ineffective. Now, when I was growing up, my parents made it crystal clear that they did not care how I felt. How many of your parents made that crystal clear to you? Yeah, and my mom said, well, you know, what do you expect? I was raised in a generation where children were to be seen and not heard. Nobody cared how we felt. I said, well, you sure passed that one down. But I'll tell you what, I do care about how I feel. You know, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. That's Aretha or Barbatha, whatever. Anyway, the point of the matter is, what does respect mean to you? Respect to me means that I care about how another person feels. If I respect that person, I got to respect how they feel. Somebody said, well, you know, kids aren't people. I was like, what? No, they're becoming people. I said, no. When they are born, they are people. They're not becoming people. They are people. And they have feelings. Even a tiny infant, you can tell the difference between an angry cry, right? And a sad cry, right? They have feelings. They're people. The minute they come in, boom, they're people. They were people even in here a little. They're still people. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to respect their feelings. So, kiss these 2 words into your brains. Ready? Feeling first. Feelings first. So, here's how I do it with kids. I can tell you're mad. It's okay to be mad. Now, am I talking to them when they're screaming mad? No, why? They can't hear me. Okay, am I talking to them when I'm screaming mad? No, why not? Not good. Okay, so I say I'm calm, they're calm. I'll say, I can tell you were mad. It's okay to be mad. Next time you get mad, what can you do? Then you role play with them some positive behavioral options. That's how you handle it. But I act like I'm a mirror. Okay, be a mirror to your kids and just reflect back their feelings. I could tell you're sad. It's okay to be sad. But what happens is, sometimes it's real uncomfortable for us to stand in those emotions. Anger. Sometimes we can't even deal with our own anger, much less a kid's anger. Sadness. Okay, my daughter Annie had gerbil. The gerbil died. I was so tempted to run out, because, you know what, another one, they look the same, right? Okay, so I was real tempted to go out and get another gerbil, stick it in there, and you know what, I did not. It is not our job to fix it so that our children do not experience any pain. That weakens them. It is our job to support our children as they grieve for the loss of a loved gerbil or whatever. Anyway, she did write a book about it, and it was an award-winning book. She won awards for this book, for the love of the gerbil. Okay. Everything's about relationships. I do love rituals with my kids every day. And every time I'm on the phone, when I leave, I say, what? I love you. I love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby will be. You know, I used to do that one with them. How do you know Robert Munch, Love You Forever, his book? I love you forever. I'll like you for always. If you don't have the book, get it. These are love rituals. There's a book called I Love You Rituals, written by a woman by the name of Dr. Becky Bailey. I love that stuff, but it's for littler kids. Okay? So I build a relationship. I do love rituals. Love rituals are behaviors that show, right? That show that you love your kids. You don't just say, I love you, I love you. My dad said, oh, I love you, and I think about you every day. Yeah, I haven't talked to you in 3 years, Dad. Thanks. That's helpful. Okay, so you describe the kid behavior. You want to make sure that it's their job, that they know that they're helpful. If you haven't done this, I'm going to ask you to photograph your kids being helpful. That's called positive reinforcement. Then develop the photos, stick it on a board at their eye level where they can see it. Kids love to see pictures of themselves, don't they? And you'll go, hey, what were you doing right here? Emptying the dishwasher. And then you're going to say these words. Ready? That was, or you did it, but I'm going to say, that was helpful. Say that. That was helpful. Every time you're going to notice your kids doing what they're supposed to, and you're going to say, that was helpful, because you want them to believe it's their job to be helpful. Right. Do that. It's real important. Another thing is, research says that in order for you to have a good relationship with your child, you need to have what is called a periodic genuine encounter. That's one-on-one time when you're alone with your kid, and it's only 10 minutes, but you have to be totally present. You certainly can't be like this, okay? Can't be like this. You can't be doing anything else. You got to be totally focused, all of your energy on your kid for a total of 10 minutes. How many of you have tried this since I talked to you about this? Is it easy or hard for you? It's a little harder than people think to be totally present for 10 minutes with a kid. Where you're not thinking about laundry, you're not thinking about taxes, you're not thinking about anything, honey. You're just totally present. Practice it every day, because this is what builds what? The connections. Okay, so encouragement. I want you to encourage and inspire and impart, okay? I want your kids to believe that you believe, I know you can handle this. You are cared for. You are important to me. I trust you. You are listened to. And I believe in you. I want your kids to have these beliefs. I want you to give them these messages. Okay? Because that is encouraging, right? Rather than discouraging. Remember the guy, Alfred Adler, believes that you need to encourage kids who feel discouraged. This is how you do it. You listen to them too. Okay. Connections are the force behind. I give this couch example. I do a lot of couples work too in my counseling, in my private practice. And, you know, I give this example. Okay, here you know, first of all, I always know how the couples are by, you know, where they sit. Do they sit at opposite ends of the couch, or are they like sitting near each other and touching each other or not? Okay, so right away, body language just tells you a lot. But here's this. Think about you. Think about you, and you're there with your significant other, and you get up and your significant other says, hey, would you mind making me a sandwich? And you say, Well, sure, what kind would you like? Now, that's somebody who has a good relationship and is feeling connected to the other person. Now, you're sitting on the couch, right? You don't. You get up. You say, guy says, hey, can you make me a sandwich? And you're like, what? 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 You got broken legs? What? I'm the maid? I'm the maid? What? I'm your cook? What? You get, okay, right? Right? How many of you have known that how you feel about the person really influences how you respond to them? Isn't that the truth? Okay, so let's build some effective connections in relationships so you're not going, say what? What? Okay? Okay, just be. I do this, I end every one of my workshops this way. I have you put your hand on your heart, and of course I say, my heart to your heart, I wish you well, and that's a love ritual that I end all my classes and all my workshops with. I want you to do love rituals in your family, whatever they are, and I want you to do family meetings. Family meetings are where you talk about it, you set an agenda, and you talk about stuff. Because in functioning families, everybody gets their needs met. Used to be women particularly who put the needs of the family above their own, and that's how you go to sainthood, right? No, that's how you get bitter, angry, and resentful. Okay, in functioning families, everybody gets their needs met. Not just the kids, but everybody. In order for that to happen, you got to talk about it, because first of all, you got to figure out what the heck you need. And second of all, you got to figure out how you're going to make that happen. So that's why you got to have meetings and talk about it. I do a whole class on setting goals. How many of you actually get together with your spouse and you set short-term and long-term family goals every year? Excellent. I got one person out of 88. That's great. The rest of you better come to my workshop. We create either consciously or unconsciously all the time. And that's the truth. It's hard to create what you want unless you're pretty clear about what that is. So I'll say to somebody, what do you want? Okay, I want a happy family. Okay, what are you doing about it? I don't know. Well, if you don't know, then I'm going to say it's kind of hard to create that, isn't it? So you got to talk about it. Okay, here's another big thing. We cannot change behavior by focusing on what we don't want. But anytime we're irritated with kids, let's say we're irritated, we're focused on what we don't want. So I have to have you flip around, do a little, I used to go like this. I spin to bring the energy deep within, like the Sufis. But no, let's say you just pivot your head. So I'm going to shift what I'm focused on. So instead of being irritated and focus on the behavior, what I don't want, I can actually tell the child what I do want. Because remember what I said about kids, they see in what? Pictures. Remember how we have this language stream? Oh, gee, it's over here. Oh, gosh, I'm stuck in that. Oh, is this a parking lot for the bank? How come I can't, how many of you get stuck in that parking lot for the bank? Okay, well, whatever. Okay, so we have this running language stream. I think it's over here. Okay, we have that language stream going on in our heads all the time. Kids don't. They see in pictures. So if you say to a kid, don't hit, what have you just created a picture in their head of? Hitting. Guess what? You're going to get more of that. Hello? Focus on what you want. Say what you want. I remember my daughter was little, and we went to go visit a friend of mine's house, and she didn't have children, so she had that nice white carpet. And so my kid goes in the planter and picks up a handful of dirt. Now, what's the first thing you usually say? No! The kid goes like this. So instead of yelling no, I just said, the dirt stays in the planter. She went like this. Wow. My friend was like, I was like, oh, the dirt stays in the planter. Okay, we got to focus on what you want, but that's hard, isn't it? We got to practice because you're so focused on what you don't want that actually it helps if you spin around because you're actually trying to flip your brain into saying what you do want. Hands stay at your side. Touch gently. The dirt stays in the planter. Speak kindly. Okay, these are things that we got to teach kids. Say what you want, not what you don't want. Because what you focus on, you will get more of. So when you're annoyed, pivot, spin, do whatever you need to shift your brain. But when you're disciplining kids, say what you want, not what you don't want. That is critical. This is a technique, and it doesn't matter. This is any age. This is also in relationships with adults. How many of you think that your spouse ought to read your mind? He ought to know what I want. I know what he wants. Why doesn't he know what I want? Okay? And then you get all mad and pissy because they don't know what you want. And then you're like, I'll take the garbage out. And all you had to do is say, hey, could you take the garbage out? Instead of like this, hey, could you take the garbage out? Don't you realize it's, okay, if we could take the anger and the pissiness out of our voices and say the same thing, it's helpful. When we leak anger onto anybody that we're in relationship with, it is hurtful. I want you to be helpful, not hurtful. Okay. So, kids seeing pictures. Say, don't hit. Okay, you're going to get more of it. Don't run. Okay, you're going to get more of that. Which one makes a better image? Walking feet. Walk like this to keep safe. And I always say, walk like this to keep safe. And I constantly am talking about what? Safe, 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 safe. I'm creating the language of safety. I'm creating, because it's my job, and I tell them what my job is. I say it's my job to keep you safe. It's your job to help keep it that way. Okay, so let's review here quickly. I'm going to change the job description from making you behave to keeping you safe. Okay, number 2. I'm going to change the I'm going to make you do this to I'm going to blank to keep you safe. I'm going to hold your hand to keep you safe. Right? Real important. Okay, next one. I want you to teach the composure techniques. It's real important. Wouldn't it be great if our parents had the ability to teach us how to regulate our emotions before we got to adulthood? What a gift that would have been, huh? Might not have been so hard for me to learn how to control my own self when I was disciplining if I had that. Okay, you're safe. Keep breathing. You can handle this. I want you to know how to move from the fear mode back to the love mode. You better know that in your own head so you can do it. Teach it to your kids. Create a safe place rather than time out. And always, always, always address a child's feelings first. I never try to change their behavior until I've already talked about their feelings. And all I have to do is mirror back to them. I can tell you're mad. It's okay to be mad. Because remember we established last workshop, all feelings are okay. Say that. All feelings are okay. And I tell a kid what I want to do. I talk about assertiveness a little bit. Assertiveness is, when I was training, I train teachers also, but I was training a student teacher one time, and I said, okay, line the kids up. Please line up. Nothing. I was like, watch me. In 5 minutes, it's time to line up. Line up. Boom. They all lined up. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? When you're disciplining, I want you to speak in a firm but kind voice. I want you to give clear and direct instructions, and I only give 1 instruction to kids at a time. I don't give them like 3. I do a whole class with teachers, just how to give directions. There's a prompt, and then you say one thing. When I say go, stand up. Go. Okay, I'm practicing with you. Ready? When I say go, stand up. Go. Now you've been sitting too long. I'm asking you to stand up. Now you've just increased your brain functioning by 15% because activity actually increases brain function. Okay, so when I give kids a direction, I give them a prompt and I only give them 1 direction at a time. Once you get them to do 3 things, pretty soon you can get them to do anything. They love to be successful. Success breeds success. So, your tone of voice says just do it. Choices. I give kids 2 positive choices. Choices helps to build their self-esteem. Okay? Who's the only person you can never change? Yeah. A lot of people say, hey, do you do home visits and stuff? Well, I don't anymore. I didn't actually for very long. Because you know what? I find that working with the people who come to me is so much more effective than trying to go into the home. Really. Because who are you in charge of? Your own self. Okay. So, here's how you do 2 positive choices. You take a deep breath. You focus on what you want. You come up with the 2 positive choices. You say, What would you like? And then you say, what would work best for you? If the child resists or says no, then I'll get down on their level. I'll lower my voice. I'll repeat the positive choices one time. In other words, because some people come to me all the time. They say, Barb, my kids don't listen to me. I say, okay, well, what do you do? Well, I tell them, and then I tell them again, and then I tell them again, and then I get so mad I scream at them. And I said, wow, you've taught them really well not to listen to you until you scream. No. I tell them once, I get down on their level, and then if they're having trouble making a choice, I'll look at it. Okay, are they way past go? Juice or milk? It doesn't matter if they're like way past go and they have, there's sometimes where kids are so overtired. It's not about the juice or the milk, is it? Do not pass go, just get them to bed. Okay, so it might be that issue, so I've got to look at what's driving this behavior, but I'll get down and I'll say, I'll even say, I can tell you're having trouble making a choice. I'll help you make the choice. Okay, now, is that going to escalate a kid or de-escalate them? It depends. Depends upon where that kid is. As an adult, we always have a choice. We can either escalate a situation or we can de-escalate a situation. We always have a choice. Sometimes I will choose to escalate a situation, but usually I'll choose to de-escalate a situation. I teach that to teachers too. As a teacher, you always have a choice, either to escalate it or de-escalate it. You got to make a choice. Okay, if it's a safety issue, I don't compromise whether that's going to escalate or not. If it's not, then I'm going to have to look at it. Yeah.
We only have a couple minutes left in the session.
Yes.
So you've got a couple more pages of handouts.
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want to wrap up with in the next couple minutes that?
Yeah, I just want to talk about one other thing, and I'm going to ask you to be consistent. Okay, when you say something, act on it. If you set a line with the kid, then hold that line. Because the kid's job is to test, to see, okay? To see, does she really mean it? So if you say you're going to do something, then I role play it with the kid. See, I don't want any surprises. I want him to know what my expectations are. We role play. I want him to know. Then, are they going to test you? Yes. When they test you, don't get mad. Go, wow, they're doing their homework just like Barb said. They're testing me. This is great. So now you're not taking it personally. You don't get mad. I don't want you to take any kind of behavior of kids on a personal way. And I'm going to ask you to be consistent, and I'm going to ask you to only say things that are enforceable. Don't tell kids, and I never threaten children. I don't threaten. It's not okay to threaten children. But if I say something, I mean it, and it's not a threat. And I always give them a choice. I say, and I want you to remember, choice empowers children. If you choose to blank, here's what I'm going to do. And that's what this is. This is a consequence. The next one is consequence. A consequence is really to use to teach. So if I do a consequence with a kid, it has to be related, respectful, valuable learning tool. I do a whole class on consequences. I'm not going to go through it all now, but I want to tell you that in order for a logical consequence to be effective, it has to be pre-arranged. It's not reactive. Well, you did that, so I'm going to do this. No. It has to be pre-arranged. So if you choose to do that, here's what I'm going to do. Then is the kid going to test you? Bet on it. No shame, no blame. You just implement the consequence. And then afterwards, you got to process it. So you chose to do this. Well, so next time, what could you do differently? I ask kids this a lot. So how'd that work for you? I can tell you're so sad. It's okay to be sad. So, hey, next time, what could you do differently? Okay, we have just barely scratched the surface of discipline. Discipline is a process. Again, it's from the word disciple. It means to teach. Put your hand on your heart. Say with me, my heart to your heart. I wish you well. Okay, think about what was one of the most important things that you learned today, because I'm going to ask you that. What are you taking forward out of today? What impacted you? Think about it. I'm going to make you say something.